Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Keon.
And this is Triple Play, that podcast where our lives get ruined by a shitty movie. Because this week we watched Best Worst Movie.
Written by Michael Stephenson.
Directed by Michael Stephenson.
And released on March 14th, 2009.
Yeah,
at
South by Southwest.
Yeah.
That's what that film festival's called. Which I think is actually coming up when this episode goes out, like, pretty soon.
Well, if it's always in March, then there you go.
Before we start, I want to mention a critical correction from last episode where I kind of confused. I read two different interviews and I confused the subjects of the two interviews together when I was talking about. I was referring to Michael Stephenson when I actually meant to be referring to the guy who played
the boyfriend.
The boyfriend,
who is now a successful author.
Yeah. And we corrected that in the show notes, but I don't know how many people check the show notes. But when I went back to go read the interviews, I realized I had kind of conflated the two names.
Yeah, that's why I was so confused of like.
It's one of those,
the guy being like in high school. And
yeah,
stuff.
It's one of those easily committed memory slips where you confuse two names, and yeah. But just wanted to correct that off the bat here, since that's a pretty big error I committed last episode, and I take full responsibility for that one.
Well, Troll 2 itself was a pretty big error. So.
Right, my error wasn't as big as the creation of Troll 2, is what you're saying.
And despite Michael Stephenson's like efforts to go back and like make
rewrite
something
history
out of Troll 2, or maybe rewrite history. It's Troll 2 is just there forever, and has started
as a
like
travesty of filmmaking.
Yeah, I didn't realize how big of a cult following this thing had.
Yeah, it's huge.
And it was probably bigger around when this came out than it is now.
Mm-hmm. Still think it's pretty big. I think it reached its peak when Mystery Science Theater 3000 covered it.
Huh. Yeah, that would,
a lot of movies that MST3K cover.
Freaking acronym.
I think it's actually technically an initialism, because I think this is weird, but I think an acronym has to be pronounceable. So FBI, that's an initialism.
Yeah, I've heard of this.
But
too.
like laser, that's an acronym.
Yeah, I've heard of that before.
But yeah,
not gonna stop me though.
Most movies that get covered by MST3K gain cult followings, like Manos, The Hand of Fate.
I've heard of that one. I've never seen or listened to MST3K, but I've heard of that movie like just by itself.
Mm-hmm.
And how bad it is. No idea what it's about, but
Birdemic too.
Yeah, The Room.
I mean, that's the thing is as they bring up in this movie, it's like the best bad movies are the ones where you can tell they clearly set out to make like a good movie and just flopped so hard that it was bad.
Yeah, there's something of like literary theory in this of like thinking that I don't want to get too deep into this. It's freaking Troll 2, but like of the idea that the intentions of the people who created the movie matter, and I just want to bring that up. I don't want to talk about that like at all because there are funnier things to discuss. It's true. Like,
well, the documentary opens with George Hardy performing dental work, and I immediately gripped my jaw in flashbacks of pain because exactly about a week before I watched this, I had a wisdom tooth out, and I was like, great, having like major flashback moments here.
Yeah, this really sets up what the movie's about because this really follows George Hardy, and I was surprised. I thought Michael Stephenson himself would be a bigger like guy speaking in this movie, but he was really just the guy behind the camera for most of it.
George Hardy
was on screen sometimes, but
he's apparently a pillar of the community. He did free dental work for all these kids at the local elementary school. It's like, wow, this guy's an actual American hero.
Yeah, no, I know it's a movie and they're like they're showing him in a good light, but like he seems like a cool guy.
Like even the mayor knows him.
Yeah. Then again, he lives in an extremely small town, but
I mean, still.
Or actually, he lives in like a suburb of Salt Lake City, so I don't know how small.
A suburb big enough to have its own mayor.
Actually, no. He moved back to Alabama, and this is his life in Alabama.
Yeah,
my bad.
Yeah. The mayor of this town.
There's a whole part in the movie where he's like, I love Alabama. It's home.
And even his ex-wife likes him a lot. Apparently, it was an amicable split, I guess.
Yeah. But he has a secret dark past. He was in a movie. Apparently, being in a movie can be dark.
If it's Troll 2.
I don't know how we're going to approach this. I don't know where to start with this because this is it's a little all over the place. In terms of like how this actually works as a documentary, there are more streamlined documentaries.
They're more streamlined documentaries, but I don't want to go too much into like breaking down every little bit and piece that shows up in this documentary, because I'd rather just recommend people watch this documentary if they want to learn about Troll 2, and I would maybe even recommend the documentary over Troll 2 itself.
Yeah, I thought, because our mentality behind watching this was like it would kind of fill in the blanks of like what little research we found about Troll 2. Mm-hmm. But like I realized a lot of what we brought up and the sources we used for the Troll like trilogy episode were actually from this movie.
Yeah, we're sourced from this documentary, which I guess is the definitive take on the making of Troll 2.
Yeah.
It's kind of a fascinating documentary to watch, though, because it's one of those documentaries you watch where you know the end result is like bad,
travesty and horror
and failure, but all these people, there's people acting like they just brushed it off, and then there's people like clearly deeply affected by what happened, and then there's the director who's just like, I made the greatest movie of all time.
The best worst movie of all time. I bet all the other people who like were involved in this were like, damn, I wish I had this idea of like making a documentary about this movie. Because that's really like, the scene where they interview, it's only like a minute or so long, but where they interview the girl who played the sister, who was like really considered one of the worst actors out of all the bad actors. And she's like, yeah, this thing is a blight on my acting career, but like, imagine if she had made the movie or whatever, and she would like be able to brush it off and like laugh it off in an interview of like, yeah, I was in this movie, but like I made a documentary about it, and like,
Yeah, because she even says that she doesn't even include it on her CV anymore. But if someone brings it up, it's like, hey, weren't you in Troll 2? She goes, yeah. And then she's like, she goes home knowing she won't be hired for that job then.
Right.
Which is weird that, like, casting agents don't realize that people can change, but...
Yeah, and that she was acting young. Under, like, very strange circumstances and young.
Yeah, exactly. Feels like people should give her the benefit of the doubt on that. I mean, I know I do.
Well, that's I know that
I place most of the blame for this movie on the director and his wife who wrote the movie.
As do I. And we bring up the what's her name?
What is her name? I only know his
Claudia
name.
Claudia Drudy or something like that.
Well, his name is Claudio Fragasso.
Oh, right. Her name is not Claudia. That would be weird.
Hey, I'm going to pull up the IMDb page for the documentary, and it should be on there. Hopefully, it's here. Oh my god.
We're going to dig deep for these Troll 2 credits.
Rosella Drudy.
Yeah, Rosella Drudy. She seemed, I don't know, did you get the impression that she was in on the joke? That she, like, knew it was, like, a really awful movie and was just kind of like...
A little bit?
I did. Because Fragasso, like...
Fragasso...
If he does, then he's hiding it very well, If he isn't on the joke, he doesn't seem to be.
Fragasso seems like he thinks he made the greatest movie of all time.
Yeah.
This movie basically... This documentary, I guess, follows less the making of Troll 2 and talks more about its cultural impact.
Yeah, like the aftermath of it almost.
And it follows this cult following that it gained, which I didn't know was so big, one. And two, just made me feel really sad for all these people who are so invested in this movie that it's like...
Yeah, no, like people in this, like fans that they interviewed or whatever, or people who like... created Troll 2 viewing parties and like that one group who it was annual for them, but then it got so big for them they did 2 a year.
Yeah.
And people were like, yeah, this movie sucks, but like I love it. Like this is the best movie ever. Like it's so like technically bad that it's great. And I don't know about you, but I was just sitting there, I was like, no, like I like Troll 2 sucks. Like
yeah, like I could never imagine myself watching this again, let alone yearly.
Yeah, I get how it's a funny movie because again, it like goes against all the like
things you're
conventions
supposed to do,
of movie making. I get that, but like it's so damn bad.
I don't know. I just feel bad for all these people who are they invest so much time and energy into this thing.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel this way about people who get like so invested in Star Wars too. It's like, it's great to be passionate about something, but when it like consumes your life, it starts to become a little bit of a problem. And that's why like for this, the people they're following, it feels almost like I kind of feel like gross watching this because like I feel like I'm seeing
voyeuristic or something.
Yeah, voyeuristic about these people because is the one guy who created a fan Troll 2 video game, like a whole video game by himself, and that's an incredible achievement. And what did he dedicate it to? This movie that he's just so in love with that like his room is covered in Troll 2 memorabilia, and it's like, dude, you have like legitimate skills here.
And there's a take on this where it's like, oh yeah, I was just doing it like ironically, I guess, but like at the same time.
But like these people seem like genuinely invested in this. Like in this movie, these people are like.
And there's a thing like, if you're doing something so passionately and you're like, oh, it's just ironic, like what's the difference, you know? Like.
Yeah, exactly. But again, it's great to be passionate about something. I'm not saying you shouldn't be passionate about something, but like the people in this, it seems like Troll 2 is like consumed every aspect of their life. Like at the parties, they recreate the cake from the movie. They have these parties.
They enact the scenes.
Every 2 years. One guy wrote an entire sequel to the movie. Like that would take so long to do.
I tried to find the script for it online, and I found some sites like referencing it, but I'm going to keep looking.
And like maybe there's an element of hypocrisy here because we have a podcast dedicated to Doctor Who that we do literally every week.
But Doctor Who is like, I'm not going to hesitate to say this despite what people might think, but like Doctor Who's good.
I mean, yeah, but not even that. I don't let the podcast consume my life. I do dozens of other things outside the podcast. In fact, I'd say I maybe don't dedicate enough time to the podcast sometimes. And I think that's the key difference is that I'm not letting Doctor Who consume my entire life.
Well, I don't know. I think there's something to be said about like being really passionate about something like Star Wars or whatever. But like,
yeah, but again, I'm saying
my take on this is like that they're dedicated to Troll 2 of all things.
But I just think there's a fine line between passion and obsession. I guess is the word.
Yeah, sure. I guess I agree with that. And yeah, it is a bit sad. Like there are many things I found about this documentary to be sad.
Do we just maybe want to run down the list of sad things first and get it out of the way?
Yeah, because I don't know how we would go in order because just to describe it a little bit, this movie basically follows George Hardy and like his dive into like the Troll 2 fandom that he didn't even know existed. And then him coming out of that. And
then at the end, him being so worn down by it, him wanting to just be separated from it.
Right. But yeah, let's run through some of the sad aftermath of Troll 2.
Well, I felt the sister not being able to get any acting because of this.
Right. Claudio Fragasso, thinking that the movie is great. There's an interview. There's many interviews with him in this, but one of them, he's like, this movie deals with like the real problems of family and togetherness and community connection.
And it brings them all together in one movie. And I'm like, I didn't see any of that in the movie.
And he compares it to like, oh no, sorry, it wasn't him. But later on, the movie gets compared to like Casablanca.
Yeah, that was one of the sad moments for me was when I think it's the mom.
Yep, it's the mom.
Because they finally track her down. She's the last person they can track down who acted in the movie, and they track her down. And she basically says, like, look, the films that are being made now, they don't hold up. But when you compare, but Troll 2 holds up. You compare it to, like, Lena Headey, like those classics of Hollywood cinema. We hold up. And I'm sitting there like, how? How?
Yeah, her entire life, now that we're touching on it, just seems a little sad. She cares for her elderly mother, which isn't a bad thing, but it's difficult.
Yeah, it's difficult.
And she's still trying to be an actor and stuff when I'll just say it, she's clearly not a good actor, even now. And she wasn't a child when it came out, so there's not like as much. There's obviously you can improve, but like I don't look at her performance in Troll 2 and forgive it as much as like the sister or whatever.
Yeah. And also, they ask her, like, where would she go if she had all the money she could? She's like, I would just go away from people. Like, I just don't want to interact with people anymore.
Right.
Because they just always bring up Troll 2, and I'm just over it.
She was also the only one of the original cast who didn't come to, like, one of the big, like, Troll 2 parties or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, she was like, it would be fun, but, like, I just want to leave it behind. Like, I just want to move on. And it's just sad, like, what saddened me, too, is how all these people are, like, the running kind of theme of this documentary seemed to be these people want to move on from Troll 2, but the cult following is so...
Michael Stephenson keeps drawing them back now.
Well, not only that, but like the cult following itself just seems to be so, like, the fan base seems to be so rabid about it that it keeps dragging these people in, and they're like, look, we just want to move on. And they're like, no, the only thing you've done is Troll 2.
Which is actually true for a lot of them. Like George Hardy, his only movie is Troll 2, but that's not his only like thing he's done in life. You know, he's a dentist. And there's a scene at the end which really drove this home where he's like, you know, how many times can I say that you can't piss on hospitality line? Like, I'm tired of... And he says that at a Troll 2 like conference or whatever you want to call this thing. He gets up in front of all these Troll 2 like rabid fans or whatever, and he's like, I don't want to say it. Like, I can, you know, it's only funny like so many times. Yeah. And that's true. Like, at the end of this movie, I was tired of him saying that piss on hospitality line. So, like, I can't imagine the people who watch the movie, like, back to back.
I mean, not only that, like, when he goes to the memorabilia convention in London, and then, like, halfway through, he's like, I just hated it. Like, I just hated all those people were there, and I just wanted to leave. Like, halfway through, I was just done. Like, I was just worn out, and I wanted to leave.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know, it was a lot more sad than I was expecting. I was expecting this movie to be more funny.
The granddad, like...
Yeah, the guy who played Grandpa Seth.
His was the saddest because the first time he shows up, it's like, he tells some things about the making up, and the second time they bring him in, he's like telling about his life, and he's like, here's a picture of me as a freshman in college. And he's like, yeah, you know, I don't have any children, I don't have any grandchildren, you know, I kind of just wasted my life away. But then he's like, but what else can you do in life except kind of just waste it away?
I remember that line.
And it's like, wow, that's like an incredibly depressing statement.
Yeah. Yeah. And he has a long acting career. He's like a Shakespearean actor, I believe. I think they were bringing that up in the movie.
He was a good-looking guy in college, too. Like, that picture was like...
I don't know.
Good-looking guy.
Yeah, I felt like when he brought out the picture, he was like, he didn't say this, but he was like, look how much potential I had when I was like 18 or whatever.
That's what it felt like to me, too.
And I've just wasted my life. And Troll 2, I think he feels that Troll 2 is part of that, you know, wasting of his life.
I mean, yeah. The other sad thing was when they get the shop owner, and he was like, you know, that wasn't me. That was like just a damaged person back then. Like, I wasn't whole. I was messed up back then.
Again, to reiterate, this was the guy who was in a mental hospital at the time and had many mental problems.
Yeah, he was like, I was messed up back then. He's like, I'm glad I got out of it now, but he's like, but back then, like, I watched the movie, I don't remember any of that, and you know.
His segment though was, I feel like, one of the most positive parts of the movie, because he brings up how like he went to the Troll 2 like convention or whatever, and he got up on stage and people were cheering for him, and he was like, yeah, you know, I really like that, you know, I really, despite what Troll 2 actually was and my role in it, I really liked how years later I got up and people were, you know, cheering me on for like who I was or whatever. He's like, he seemed to have like some sort of dissociative. They didn't get into what was actually.
The life he was living seemed kind of sad, though. He looked like he was living in just like kind of a shack. His bed was like, looked like a sleeping bag on the floor.
Yeah, and he was actually a personal trainer. He was like he's like a trained fitness like personal trainer or whatever, but he like obviously doesn't utilize that anymore. Yeah, which is sad in itself.
Michael Stephenson is the least sad in this whole thing.
Yeah, he kind of dragged out these sad memories for everyone. I mean, I'm glad he did. I'm glad this movie exists as like a deeper look into Troll 2. Kind of. Kind of. I don't know. Like, yeah, I wish it dealt, and it did to the extent that it could, because it's not like this was a documented thing, right? It was a very, I don't want to, because it's technically, this is like an industry movie, I think, but like, I guess, but it's very like a homemade movie, so they did go back into the past and talk about the making of when they could.
Yeah, they went back to the house. They got Claudio to come back to the house with them, and this was kind of weird because it seemed like Claudio thought that they were shooting the movie again, because he was like directing George Hardy and Michael Stephenson.
I think they were just reenacting what they had done like 20 years ago.
Yeah, there's an aside where George Hardy's like, Claudio speaks way better English now than he did 20 years ago.
And he wasn't even that clear in the movie itself, so I can't even imagine what it was like. Remember the guy who we talked about as having gone through some serious like shit?
They like Claudio.
the stories he had to tell were just insane. Like the part of the movie where he's becoming like a potted plant or whatever, or like being overgrown by those plants.
Claudio tells this story. He's like, the guy was just complaining the whole day because he's like, his legs were getting sore because he stood there for the whole day.
14 hours. Like, come on, man. Like, that's so...
And then he's like,
wait, what? He actually stood there for that
and then
long?
Claudio just casually goes on and is like, yeah, you know, we made a mouthpiece for a later scene. The prop department had a mouthpiece, so we just bloop, and then he wasn't complaining anymore. And I'm like, what?
Oh, God.
Like, that violates probably dozens of laws and union rules. Not that these actors are probably unionized.
No. And the guy who, like, they ruined the guy's shoes, the one of the friends, and they, like, made him go buy... Like, it was
a shirt. The shirt got ruined, and they're like, oh, just go buy a yellow shirt. And he's like, don't you have, like, a costume department to go buy a yellow shirt? Like, why must I go buy the yellow shirt? They're like, no, go buy a yellow shirt.
But I seem to remember that, like, they, like, threw his shoes on a roof or something, and they're just like, well, too bad. Or maybe I'm just making that up. I don't know.
No, I vaguely remember that. I don't remember whose shoes it was or who it was. Michael Stephenson tells a story of how he thought this was going to be his big break, and we see some, like, really cringeworthy pictures of him as a child star, the headshots that his mom presumably passed out to all the agents. And then he's like, and I never saw the movie, but my parents gave it to me for Christmas on VHS. So I immediately popped it in, and I ran out of the room. It was so bad.
And, oh God, another sad thing that I just remembered is George Hardy, to some extent, capitalizes on Troll 2 in his dentistry. You know those, like, view screens that you can watch when you're getting your teeth cleaned or whatever? Like, he shows Troll 2 to people. It's just like, I don't know.
I would be like, well, sorry, George, I'm going to find another dentist. Not only because, like, it would be impossible to do dental work on my mouth while I watch that movie because I'd be laughing so much. But secondly, like, I'm not going to be subjected to this torture. I put on Born Identity when I had my wisdom tooth out. Watched the first approximately 20 minutes, and then I was gone for 2 hours.
Nothing like Matt Damon to put you to sleep. No, I'm kidding. Did you notice that Shrek 2 poster? Those guys who played the goblins?
Yeah. The guys who played the goblins were talking about how it was just a burlap sack. I didn't realize this when we were watching the movie, but they played some clips, and I was like, damn, they're right.
Oh, man, you know who wasn't in this? The woman who played the witch. I really wish she was.
Yeah.
I really wish I could have heard what she had to say.
My favorite was how they even got the lady who runs through the forest in the middle of the movie and then immediately gets captured by the witch, and her subtitle is like, lady who runs through forest.
Oh, God.
And there's another funny scene where the people who played the goblins are talking about how low budget the film was, and Claudio's standing right behind them, and they both look at him and then look back at the camera to keep talking, and Claudio's like, you don't remember the director? And then they're like, oh yes, Claudio, hi, nice to see you again. And you can tell they're like really like
not enthused.
Not enthused at all. They're like, oh shit, he's back.
Bringing back some traumatic memories with Claudio in the picture.
Flashbacks in Nilbog. Apparently, like, the creators of Guitar Hero 2 put like a reference in. They named the high school in the like campaign mode Nilbog High, and I was like, what?
Oh man, remember that part where they're interviewing Claudio, some fans are, that is, and someone asks, like, why'd you call the movie Troll if there aren't any goblins? And Claudio...
There aren't any trolls in it.
Yeah, I said that backwards.
And he doesn't understand. His wife translates for him.
Yeah, she's like, I seem to remember we called them goblins. Her English sounds a lot better than his, by the way. And he was just like, oh, freaking guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And
yeah. He literally said, you don't understand. You don't know what you're talking about.
This movie, we mentioned this in the last episode, but this movie is where we get... Rosella Drudy explaining why the trolls are like vegetarians and transforming people into vegetables. She's like, yeah, I was really pissed off that a lot of my friends were becoming vegetarians, so I wrote it into the movie. And that's where I kind of got the impression that she was like, she knew like the movie really sucked, and she was just kind of playing along for Claudio's sake or whatever. And also the part
that's
where
kind of sad in a way, though.
Yeah, again, that too.
That she's like, her husband thinks he's made this great movie, and she like it'd be really sad if she actually knew it was bad but was playing along with it being good just to like pretend for his sake.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that's all I have to say.
I
about
really
this.
actually don't have much more to say about this. I want to compare this briefly to Chuck, actually, which is another like pseudo documentary we watched 2 months ago.
But this is more of like
and this
presenting
is
itself
more of
as a documentary.
Yeah, this is more of a documentary than Chuck is. But both of them are retelling, you know, these movie-related events.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And you know, in many ways, I think this is better than Chuck because it's more factual, but also I think it has more funny.
Looking at it as a documentary,
which has more funny and sad moments.
Just reiterate that Chuck wasn't necessarily trying to be what this is.
Was a biopic, I guess.
Yeah.
Or a docudrama.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe if you're looking at it from that perspective, like, sure.
But you know, that is about all I have to say about this because, you know, it follows this rabid fandom. It follows George Hardy, and it's kind of interesting to see George learn about the fandom, get really invested in it. At the end, he's like, you know, I just want to be done with it.
Yeah, he seemed pretty excited at the beginning of all of this, you know.
Yeah.
Because I think he had no idea what was out there, and he was into it for a while, and I can understand that, you know, like. He thought Troll 2 was just a stupid thing he did in his past.
Mm-hmm. Be like if we shut down our podcast in 20 years from now, found out it was this huge fan cult following.
But like something else that's actually kind of sad about George Hardy is that even he seemed to have like a lot of regrets. You know, he said near the end of the movie, like, you know, I love being a dentist, I love my job, but I really felt like back when I was a teenager that I could have been an actor. You know, I felt I had that charisma, and if I had just gone with it. You know, because it felt like he felt that he played it safe by becoming a dentist because of like influence from his family, and like he never didn't want to take the risk and try and become an actor. And it seemed like he kind of regretted that decision to some extent.
He is a pretty charismatic guy.
Yeah,
and that's probably why the movie stars him. I think if he had had a better director, he could have had a career in acting. He does also have a really distinctive kind of look about him that evokes to me like the kind of Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone kind of almost muscle man of the era.
That's really weird. You say that because he kind of reminds me of like if life had zigged instead of zagged for Jim Carrey, in a way.
I guess.
Like I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anything. That's what this movie taught me.
I mean, I can kind of see that. I don't know if I agree with it so much. I feel sorry for his dental patients who have to sit in his chair and watch Troll 2, though.
I'm sure they can refuse it. I'm sure he's not like, you have to watch this.
He has these really cool, fancy, like, glasses that you can wear.
Yeah.
That project the movie inside the glasses. Which I was like, damn, you know, that's a... kind of wish I had those, because every dentist I've been to...
Troll 2 money.
The TV is, like, embedded in the ceiling.
Yeah.
Which is, one, it's kind of far away, but not only that, the freaking dentist's face is getting in the way. I'm trying to watch my Jason Bourne, Matt Damon movie.
Jesus Christ, it's the dentist again.
Jesus Christ, it's Dr. Hardy.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say about this.
That's why. Well, that brings us to a close on our sidestep through that disaster of a trilogy. Hey, that was your suggestion.
I didn't know what Troll was, okay? I didn't know.
Yeah, well, now you
excuse.
do. Now you do.
It was a mistake, I'll admit it. It was a mistake.
We can't take it back now.
No, we can't.
So, only way going forward is up.
Hey, just another stepping stone in the quest to watch every movie trilogy ever.
That's the quest?
Month by month. Yeah, that's the quest.
Didn't realize that was the quest we were on. Well, you can email us at thedoctor@decorative.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on Troll 2 and Best Worst Movie. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and Google Play at Triple Play. Be sure to leave a rating if you like the show, and you can find us on YouTube at Decorative Vegetable.
Check us out on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us out on Twitter at TYD Podcast, and follow us on Twitter. And like we mentioned before, next month we're going to be watching Iron Man. But until then, the end. Bye.